Let's go. Good afternoon, folks, and welcome to another episode of Undercover ET. So today we are at Marcus's house. Thank you so much, Marcus, for having me, buddy. My first interview, your first interview.
Yep. My first one.
Ever spoke about this with anyone before?
Only family.
In this much depth as well, or?
Oh no, just they just know generally what happened to me, and obviously with it being family, they know, the ins and outs and that. But there's no friends really that I've spoke to about it because I'd sort of moved around, travelled a lot, life. I never really had opportunity to slow down and talk about it really.
Right.
So
yeah. Which makes sense.
Going into depth with it, like going real deep into it, like I plan to, is the first time I've done that. So.
Cool.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. So Marcus has invited me here today, folks. Basically, in a nutshell, he's had a major life experience, several near-death experiences, and we're just going to go through what happened, where it happened, how it happened, what you experienced, all of it. We're just going to put it all on the table out there for everyone to listen to. First of all, let's start with how we met. I think that's really important. So, how long has it been now?
Over 2 years, 2.5 years.
Over 2 years, yeah. It's about right. Sounds about right.
It's about right. If it's not 2.5 years, it's a little bit under 2.5 years. So it's a long time, really.
Yeah, and we didn't meet like in a normal conventional way, did we? It's not like we met at a football game or a rugby game or something like that.
Nah, we met. We both have a common interest. We play an online game called EverQuest together, and so. I moved over from one server to the European, and I met you guys. You were the first guild I met. Joined your guild, and I've been with you guys ever since. You've become like family.
Brilliant. Yeah. So we play a game called EverQuest. We have a guild together, and we've actually been going about 5 years, and it's really good. I get to meet all kinds of cool people.
And we've met other members of the guild that we're in as well. We've met
right here. We've been right here.
Yeah, right in my flat as well.
Yeah.
A couple of months ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. Was it 5 of us in the end?
There was me, you. Yeah, I think there were like 6 of us.
6. Yeah.
There were like 6 of us, weren't there?
Yeah.
So.
Which ain't bad going. Yeah, started it during the pandemic, and just met some new friends out of it, and we've say 5 years now. It's been pretty good. Yeah.
Still going strong, man. We're all regularly in contact. Some of us have each other's numbers and stuff, all that kind of thing. So
yeah, and we would log on like quite regularly during the week to play this game and collectively do stuff to achieve goals within the game. And how many months passed before you even told me about what happened to you in terms of?
It was a decent year or so, and I think I briefly mentioned it, didn't I?
Yeah.
We were talking about, I think it was about a year down the line since I've been in the guild, and we just started talking one day, and I briefly mentioned that I'd been in an explosion, and you got intrigued by it, and you asked me about it, and I went a bit more in detail and told you a bit more about it, like sort of where it happened, how it happened, and just how it happened is a bit of a mind blow, because you don't really get an explosion in a pie factory, you know what I mean? Let alone.
No, I remember when you mentioned it, and I was like, "Stop everything! What are you talking about? You got blown up." And then when I met you, I was half expecting you to have like a metal leg and a metal arm and a metal leg, and like because you don't walk away from an explosion, folks. In one piece normally, you just don't normally. You're a lucky man, aren't you?
Technically, I got dragged away. I mean, I didn't walk away. I mean, I got dragged away, and it was. I mean, it was bad. It was, but yeah, mate. Do you know what? It's one of those things that I laugh about now. Do you know what I mean? Like.
Yeah, you have to, don't you?
Lucky to be alive. Lucky to be walking.
Yeah.
Like everyone that knows about this, everyone that was there, like everyone says, you're lucky to be alive or you're lucky to be walking, and it's true. It's true, but it's also one of them things that it happened in 2009, Good Friday, April 2009, and it's like, do you know what I mean? It's a bit weird how it was a Good Friday and that happened to me. So you know what I mean? Like, one of the jokes that I make about it is like, oh, it happened on a Good Friday, but it wasn't a Good Friday for me. Do you know what I mean, personally? So it's, but it happened
Absolutely
in a pie
not.
factory.
Yeah.
Like, you know, pork pies?
Yeah.
Like steak and kidney pies, chicken and mushroom pies, you know, fruit pies as well, sausage rolls, all that kind of thing.
And was this the start of your shift? Was you just starting your shift then or something?
Well, I weren't even meant to be working that day. Like, because it was a Good Friday, like, a number of us had been asked to come in and we'd get paid sort of double time kind of thing. And obviously, because I just had a little girl, she was 3 months old, I think. I was doing the overtime and the extra for the extra money to provide for my child and my partner at the time, like. And so I went in and worked that Good Friday when I shouldn't have been there, and it happened. From what I've been told and from what I've read in the newspapers and other articles and stuff, it happened. The explosion happened at about 5:15 in the morning, and I got to work at around 4 o'clock.
So it was really early in the morning.
So it was like
first thing.
I'd been at work about an hour and 15 minutes before it happened.
And when so it was an explosion in presumably the kitchen.
Yeah.
And so
it's
like was it on the news? Was it like reported on?
Yeah, there's clips of it on YouTube and
Should we have a look, folks?
Yeah.
Should we just have a quick? I know we've just gone to the big screen, but should we just have a quick look at what Marcus is talking about here? Because we've got to have a look at it, haven't we?
I don't know if we're allowed to. Are we allowed to say the name of the company at the time? Because that's not the name of the company now. But can we say the name of the company?
Hell yeah.
Andrew Jones Pie Factory Explosion.
You reckon this is
that top video?
This one here?
Yep.
Gas explosion.
That's
no.
One man has died after an explosion at the Andrew Jones Pie Factory in Huddersfield Town Centre. The explosion happened at 5 a.m. on Good Friday.
Dave,
6 other people were injured in the incident, one of them seriously.
No.
The dead man's body remained trapped inside. Fire Service Group Manager Keith Robinson described the scene as total carnage.
Yeah, we received a call just after 5 o'clock this morning to the bakers, which you can see behind me. When the crews got here, there'd been an explosion inside. There were 7 employees within the building at the time of the explosion. 6 of those have escaped. One of them is quite serious injuries, but unfortunately one person's still inside the building who has been pronounced dead at the scene.
One with quite
What's
serious
happened
injuries.
Is there's been an explosion of some kind. The roof's collapsed. There's total carnage inside the building, but the crews at the moment are trying to make a safe path. We know where the person is, we can see the person, but we've got to make sure it's safe for the firefighters, the ambulance people, and all the investigators before we actually move that person.
That person that they were looking to move.
Yeah.
That is talking about now. That's me.
Too early to say what's caused the incident. Obviously,
they could see me, but they couldn't see Dave, who was dead next to me. Because here's the reality about that. Dave was literally dead, a fingertip away from where I was laid, and I was in and out of consciousness at this point. So this is some of this I remember.
Good Friday. We don't want this to happen, but it appears to be a genuine accident and a tragedy. And our thoughts and sincere condolences go out to all the 7 people involved, but in particular the person who's lost their life. The plan now is to make inside safe, hopefully get a crane inside to move some of the pieces around so it's safe for everybody to walk and move around in there safely.
Yep.
Get the gentleman out safely with a lot of dignity, and then we can look at the cause of this tragedy this morning.
That's insane, Marcus. Sorry.
So there's a few things about that video that I just want to clear up a bit.
Yeah.
So he said, you may see there that he said there were 6 people inside the building at the time of the explosion.
Yeah.
There wasn't. There was 2. There was me and the gentleman that died, Dave. We were the only 2 people in the building. I think there was one other person. He was actually called Dave as well. He jumped out of a window, but I don't remember there being anyone else in there. There was only a few people in the building at the time. And when
that is
when he said that
bonkers,
the worst thing about it is I was in and out of conscious. You see when that guy was doing that report,
Yeah.
I'd literally probably only just been taken out of the building at that point. Like, travelled down the motorway at like 10 miles an hour because, like, when the explosion happened, I was stood in the oven talking to my supervisor at the time, and he was stood in front of me. He shielded me from the blast.
Wow.
So it killed him outright and threw him into me, and it threw me into a girder, sort of, that was just behind us, a big massive metal steel girder, and it sort of snapped my back, and it broke me and snapped me the opposite way around. And they had me on a bed that way the whole way to the HRI first, the Huddersfield Royal Infirmary, and then because the HRI didn't have the facilities to deal with spinal neuro injuries, they had to get me to the LGI, the Leeds Royal Infirmary. So they get me down the motorway at like 10 mile an hour, flashing lights and all, straight to the LGI. And then, I mean, from there, I don't remember much because to get me to stay still so they could sort of like break my back down and then operate so they could operate on my back, they had to knock me out for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then they did like a 13-14 hour operation on me, and that was one of like 28 30 operations in like 6 months, because they had to put me in a coma for a month.
Yeah.
Because when they'd done the operation, they couldn't have me moving and struggling and such that I was. So they put me in a coma after the operation so that I'd stay still. So I missed like a month of life as well.
Jesus Christ. And a month is a long time as well to lose. Like.
Yeah. I'd lost 2 family members, 2 army friends. The Queen had a Jubilee party.
What is this in the time that you was in hospital, or in the time that you was just in the month?
Just in the coma. Just in that 1 month in a coma.
Bloody
like there was so much that I think there was a handful of celebrities,
man.
like big celebrities that had passed away.
Too much to go through, and some would say like the coma was a better option than have to go through all that pain in a month.
Well, yeah, I mean, when I came out of that coma, I didn't know who my mum was, I didn't know who my dad was, I didn't remember that I had a daughter, I didn't know who any of my family members was for about a week. And that was just the start of like so much, like I'd lost so much memory. I had to learn how to eat, I had to learn how to drink, I had to learn how to walk. It took me about a year, up to about a year afterwards, of physio constantly to learn to walk alone. So,
Jesus.
like there's still certain words that I can't say, like I still have problems with my speech.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have problems with my sense of taste, sense of smell. It's screwed a hell of a lot of things up, because I have all the ambers and the debris from the explosion have gone straight down my throat and burn all the inside of my throat as well. So that's one of the things that I remember when they were like digging, when they pulled me out, they were digging loads of stuff out of my mouth and whatnot. So it's unbelievable. Yeah. And they're just the things that I remember. Like, you know, anything else I've had to be told, because I either don't remember or I weren't conscious, you know, like that's just crazy. The thing is, it was 15 years ago now.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Just crazy that you're still here, man. And like, here you are now telling your story, and just you're able to talk about it, and it's just incredible. I mean,
I have long-lasting scars from it as well. Do you know what I mean? Because as well as the broken spine, broken neck, I had a punctured lung, a cracked sternum. I was deaf in my right ear. Is it the 3rd degree burns, not the serious ones, all down the right side of my body for a bit.
Well, because of the blast.
Yeah.
Just the initial blast would have burnt you anyway. Yeah, of course.
Well, yeah, I was on fire. I was on fire for a bit. You know what I mean? It was pretty serious. But the thing is, the explosion, in my opinion, wasn't the worst part of that whole thing. it was the things while I was in hospital. Do you know what I mean? The hallucinations because of the amounts of morphine they were pumping into me, and the stories that I were told by not just family members but the nurses that was involved in
of what was happening to you, your body, like as you was experiencing these things. You mean?
I mean, I won't go into too much detail about some of the illusions that I was having because of the bloody morphine, but you know, there was one particular one where I was hallucinating that I'd been pushed into a morgue.
Whoa!
Like the thing is,
on like a hospital bed. Like you were out and you was going into the morgue being pushed in.
Yeah, like I couldn't see the person pushing me. I could only see the shoes, and they've pushed me in and they've just walked out. Now it's not cold in there. It's actually quite warm, but all the other beds in there are all got sheets all up, right completely over them, so it looks like you're in a morgue with just dead bodies on beds. And it was like I was on one of them, and this is what I was told by one of the nurses at the time, is I was, in my illusion, they pushed me into a bloody morgue full of dead bodies, but in reality, actually, I was just laid in my bed in a normal ward. And I've, obviously, because I'm hallucinating, I'm trying to jump, like, because the bed's got those, you know, the bars, the rail bars, it's got them up, and I'm trying to get over them. And I've accidentally kicked a nurse or kicked one of the doctors or something like that, and I've flung my arm out and accidentally caught someone, and they're just trying to push me back into the bed, and I'm fighting like, no, get me away from this ladder. And that was just one of 4 or 5 illusions, like really bad things that, you know, that I was seeing because of the amount of morphine that were being put into me. And then if that weren't bad enough, it was like the things afterwards, because I had screws and bolts and 2 titanium rods put into my spine to keep my spine like stabilised and straight
ask,
up.
like, what they did to you. So let's not. So yeah, let's go back to, so you had the accident. You've been blue lighted at 10 mile an hour because you can't be moved around too much. Your back's been broken in such a way. They've put you under. They've got your back in place. You're in hospital recovering, and then obviously they've given you morphine to keep you under while you're healing, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And you're under all sorts of drugs, and this is what's messing with your head. So, and you say they're your worst bits of this whole trauma for you. Like, apart from obviously the initial getting blown up.
Yeah.
That for you was the scary bit.
Well, yeah, because it drew a kind of a line for me between what's real and what's sort of illusionary. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, for me, after that, it was like whenever I watched a magician, you know, I had a bit more belief in what we couldn't explain. Do you know what I mean? Because I'd kind of experienced it. Like, when that explosion went off and I was laid in my coma, it was like I'd been pulled, and I'm going to sound crazy, dude, when I say this, but you're a friend, so you'll understand, man.
Yeah, say
it was like, I was laid in a coma, and I've seen, my sister took a picture of me in a coma with all the tubes, and I'll try and get hold of this photo for you, but
please,
there is a picture of me laid in bed in the coma with all the tubes and everything, right? And it was like, because I've seen that picture, it's like I was like a spirit pulled out of my body, and I was watching what was going on. So there was altercations between my sisters and my partner at the time about my daughter and her spending my money on my card and stuff like this. There was like altercations going on. And when I came round, and this is God's honest, the first thing I asked Chantel is, why was you all arguing about my bank card? And she's like, how the hell do you know that? Now, I was in a coma when this happened, according to my sister. She's like, you was like 2 weeks into your coma when that happened, Marcus. How do you even know that? I was like, I don't know. I just saw your face and I just felt like asking you why you're arguing over my bank card. Like, do you know what I mean? So it was like...
again, you was conscious despite the fact you were in your coma.
Yeah, like, I don't know whether to say I was conscious or I was like just hovering over myself. Do you know what I mean? Because I was like, it was like on the way to the hospital, I died for like between 6 and 10 seconds and had to be brought back like 4 times. So like technically, I died like 4 times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And and that's the thing.
In the ambulance on the way to the hospital.
That was just on the way to Leeds.
Right.
Which I can imagine at 10 mile an hour took quite a while. So and like to die 4 times in that one journey is that's another thing that scares me more than all else. What I saw when I was dead. Like I think and I don't want to sound crazy, but
no,
I think if I'm right about what I remember when I was dead,
yeah,
I think I know what's waiting for me when I do die. Actually, do you know what I mean? Like when I was sort of, you know, when I died, it's like the only reason I'm back is because I had somebody up there that means something to me telling me, you gotta go back. You don't belong here now.
So hang on. So are we talking? So did this happen when you were in the ambulance or when?
Yeah. I'm assuming this was in the ambulance because I've been told that I died 4 times in the ambulance on the way to Leeds, and I'm thinking, well, because it was just a clear white room, and I was sat on a bench with my granddad that had passed away when I was 6 or 7, and I was just sat on that bench with him, and it was as clear as I'm sat here talking to you. And we talked. I let him know about what's been going on in life, about the fella that my mum got with that's been bringing us up, like, you know, what's been going on there. I was talking to him for what seemed to be like ages, but then all of a sudden we're talking, and then like that, it's like, come on now, son, you've got to go now. You know, it's time for you to go now, and that was it. Like the next thing I know, I've woke up and I'm just staring at faces. There weren't mum, dad, sister. There were just faces, and I just, you know, it's surreal. And when you talk about it, it sounds crazy, but I think I know what's waiting when I do pass away. Do you know what I mean? It's weird, man.
That's crazy. So like,
it's weird.
When you say just faces, did you mean like faces within the hospital when you woke up?
They just seem like translucent faces hovering over me for a bit.
Like bubbles of faces.
Yeah, just like, you know, like that thing, that lady on Red Dwarf.
Yeah. Holly.
Just like a lot of her hovering over my head for a bit. Even the doctor was there, the neurosurgeon that operated on me. He was there, and they're just hovering. I recognised the faces, I just didn't know who they were. Do you know? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I recognised the faces.
You've seen the faces before, like a memory.
Yeah, like if I was walking up the street and I passed you, I would recognise your face because I know you now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It was like that. I recognised the faces. I just didn't know. I didn't know. Oh, that's my mum. That's my dad. Do you know what I mean? I didn't know who they were. I just recognised them, and it was like that for a couple of days when they brought me out of my coma, and it was about a week after my coma. My parents had come in, and I'm like, oh, hiya, mum. Hiya, dad. I'd remembered. And then it was my daughter was the worst one, because my daughter was 3 months old when it happened. And they were talking about this Eloise, this and Eloise, that, and I'm like, is this Eloise? Is that my girlfriend, this Eloise? And they're like, you know, everyone, as you can imagine, they're all like, oh my God. So they're like, no, mate, that's your daughter, that is. And I'm like,
finding out too much in one day, eh?
Yeah, mate. I take something else. Like, imagine my daughter she was only like small.
Yeah.
She was really light, but I couldn't lift her up. I'd lost that much weight and muscle, bit like being in hospital all them 6 months.
Yeah, of course you do. Yeah, you do.
It was messed up, man.
Bloody hell, man. So you reckon you had these? You reckon you died in the ambulance and you was in a room a white room.
Yeah.
Just a bench.
Like, if anyone's seen the Harry Potter films or the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who episode, where Harry Potter's, I think he gets struck by is it not Dumbledore? Voldemort, and Voldemort strikes a Horcrux out of him, and it sends Harry Potter into a massive white room, just a massive white room with a bench in it, and he's sat on the bench with Dumbledore. That's exactly the same thing that happened to me when I died. I was sat in just a clear white room with a bench sat next to my granddad, and we were talking just like you and I are now. And yeah, we're talking for what seemed to be quite a while for me, and I was enjoying it. I was quite comfortable where I was, and then like that, it was time to go again. Do you know what I mean? Like, I had to.
That is just
sort of
absolutely bizarre in the craziest way.
Well, it's
possible. Like,
it's all of that happening in the space of, like, because they told me that every time that they had to revive me, I'd been gone for like between 6 to 10 seconds. So all of this happening, that long conversation with my granddad, in like 6 to 10 seconds of real life. Do you know what I mean? I just can't explain it. Like, unless there's anyone out there that's been through a death or near death experience themselves, that have died for longer
this is what I was just about to say. Like, for someone who hasn't, myself, like, for someone who's never died and come back, it sounds not crazy, but it sounds too incredible to fathom.
Yeah,
you know, like, a lot of people would hear this, and they do. I think a lot of people go onto these NDE channels out of curiosity, and they end up going, it can't be real. It's BS or whatever. But I've met you randomly.
Yeah.
And we got to know each other. You mentioned that you got blown up. I've eventually started this channel, and I asked you outright, didn't I? Not too long ago, like, so what happened to you? And you told me briefly. And I'd done a lot of research prior to asking you, and I totally believe what you're saying. Like, you saw what you saw. A man sees what he sees at the end of the day, and
I mean, there's more articles out there on the internet. That YouTube video is that's just one video. I think there's a few more videos on YouTube of the same, the incident just later on in the day, I think.
Right.
But online, if you put it into the main search,
there'll be newspaper articles
instead of YouTube. There's news. In fact, I have the newspaper articles and stuff somewhere in a cupboard, and I've read through them. I've seen first-hand photographs at the inquest because there was an inquest over Dave's death. So I've seen the first-hand pictures at that inquest of the accident just mere weeks after the incident itself, and even because it was so fresh to me as well, like the exploit had just happened, and then I was at this inquest looking at live photos on a bigger screen in a courtroom, like a small courtroom, and I'm looking at these photos, and I'm not even going to go into detail about what Dave looked like at the time, but the pictures that they showed me at that inquest so soon afterwards, they were gruesome. They were. They put one certain picture up of just like the top part of his body, and I looked away and walked out of the inquest, and that was.
It's horrible to watch because you knew that person.
Yeah.
You worked with them.
And I was like I say, when that happened, I was going in and out of consciousness. So there are some things that I do definitely remember, and I was literally fingertips away from him. I was almost touching his hand, and he was sort of, with his head was this way, but there was no skin on it. Do you know what I mean? And his arm was just out, and the rest of the building collapsed then and crushed me, and sort of like pulled me away a bit. So yeah, as I said at the start of it, it's hard to distinguish from what I remember, what I'm told, and what actually happened. So
do you think you think your colleague had his own experience once he passed? Do you think he would have?
Nah. Well, from what we were told, and this was at the inquest, and a lot of professionals, like medical professionals, told us afterwards, because he was stood in front of me when the blast went off. He took the negative force of the explosion. He took that clean to his chest, and it killed him outright. He wouldn't have lived for like a second.
Do you think that he experienced something the moment he went? Like,
I think he did.
Because obviously you died several times.
I think that because I think he's still sat in that clear white room with someone that he was close to that had passed away. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Because that's what, when I died those times in the ambulance, that's exactly what I saw, and it was there. I was talking to him, and then bang, I was gone. It was time to go, Marcus. It was time to go, and that happened a few times. But because I was the one that was sort of dying and then getting brought back.
And was it like your granddad each time you came back?
It was every time I went back, it was my granddad. Every time. So I think that would have killed him outright, and then that's I'm not going to say 15 years down the line that's where he still is, because he might have found his calling up there, and he might have gone to where he needs to be. Do you know what I mean? But I think that for at least the first year or couple of years, I think his spirit was still up there in that clear white space, with someone that he were close to, because he must have had someone that he were close to, you know. Because he had two sort of older teenage kids, and he had a younger kid with his current wife, so you know, like he'll be hovering over his kids and watching out for his kids, you know what I mean?
For sure. I hope so. I hope so, yeah.
If I'd have passed and not survived, mine would be to watch. I would probably be sat watching over my sister down here and my daughter up north, like, you know, like, even though me and my daughter don't speak, like, I would still, if I'd passed, I would still be watching her, because they're the ones that I'm closest to at the moment, you know what I mean? They're the ones that are closest to my heart, so I'd like to think that I'd be watching over them, but I survived it and I'm here, so I can physically watch out for him, you know what I mean? It's it's the way that life went for me, and the way that it didn't go for Dave, unfortunately. It's one of them. If it switch our positions, buddy, put me in front of Dave, and it'd have been me. You know,
do you think everything happens for a reason?
Yeah, I mean, Dave was a lot older than me. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm sort of, you know, a big believer in God and whatnot, but as far as this goes, God had his plan, and his plan was for my friend Dave to go and not me. So, and obviously I had a 3-month-old daughter at the time, so, you know, I were needed, and I brought her up till she was around 10 or 11, so I was obviously needed around for my daughter's sake.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it wasn't your time, clearly.
And you lot need me on EQ.
Where would we be without you, Vanny? Where would we be without you? So I'm calling you by your in-game name, huh?
See? Yeah, by the way, you want to tell them that's my Vanny area. Just tell them my name's Vanny area, but we're not going to tell them what Vanny area means.
Yeah, brilliant. No, it's been great knowing you and having the 2 years of knowing you in-game. And now I know you personally, and you're a top dude, and I've got no reason to question or doubt anything you're saying at all. It's absolutely bizarre. So, so you've obviously had this experience in the ambulance and stuff. What about in the hospital? Like, other than you thrashing out at the nurses and doctors for being over the drugs, did anything happen to you during the time you were in hospital that you can say was a bit?
Well, I mean, there was quite there's quite a few things that happened in hospital. Some good, some bad, some quite disgusting, like, because for the whole time that I was in hospital, I couldn't use any of my faculties, if you get me right.
Yeah, of course.
So I had like a catheter in.
Yeah, you had stuff going on that was not your daily. And you can.
And it was like that. I had them in for at least like 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
And then they've taken them out before they've brought me round. And I brought round. I'm in my hospital bed. I'm in my ward. I'm out of because I was in intensive care for quite a while as well, and
if you snap your back like you did
yeah,
and have the injuries like you did, you're gonna be
in a coma as well.
Yeah.
Like I was in a.
You're even lucky to be conscious at this point.
Yeah, it don't feel like it sometimes, right? But, I mean, it's one of them that it's like I've said to you before, isn't it? Like on the side, like it is what it is, you know. It's
human resilience at its finest.
The things in hospital that happened were off. Like I can't confidently sit here and say, oh yeah, I definitely saw this because I know that it was like on the morphine crap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, I thought Cristiano Ronaldo had taken me to his fucking villa and just let me. Do you know what I mean? I would just there, and I had another one.
This is
where,
what the morphine was doing to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I've heard of the stories of army people that have taken morphine because they've been wounded in battle and they're on their last, you know. And I've heard the crazy things that some of the people say as well.
Well, mate, there were corporals when I was in army training for the infantry. There were corporals that were using morphine to get over some of their pain. Some of our corporals that were training us. Yeah. Yeah. They openly, like, sort of admit to using strong pain meds like morphine and stuff like that.
Wow.
But
that's a strong.
It's, you know, like, as far as anything like dodgy happening, no dodgy happened. Like, but
nothing.
It was like
no, like visions and going back to that white room or anything like that.
No. Once they'd taken me off the morphine, like that kind of thing had stopped them. But then my sister brought me a Grim Reaper ornament. I think it's in my gym. She brought me a Grim Reaper carrying a woman, and she left it by my bedside the whole time I was in hospital. And it's what I use it for good luck the whole time, you know. It's one of them good luck things.
Well, you definitely had some good luck on your side while you were in there.
And I've had luck. It's like I've been like that since. Like about 3 months after I'd sort of recovered and all this. So you're talking about a year and a bit past. So I got fucking run over. I got run over, and it. Not like, I didn't get run out like proper, like I was crossing the road, I'd crossed and like seen the car, and as I've tried to step back, it's like sort of gone over my foot and the windscreen clipped me straight in the side, and I bang on the floor, and I'm like, oh my lord, and it's the side that it clipped where I punctured my lung in the explosion, and I'm on the floor like...
What's wrong with you, man?
Dude, I don't know, like... There was another time I was at my sister's, running down the road from my sister's. There's a curb a little bit higher than what? I've fallen, bang, cracked all my elbow and broke all my forearm here. That was like maybe 3 years ago when I first moved down here. Like, I want to say I'm accident prone, but that explosion weren't an accident. Like, do you know in that report on YouTube it says, oh, this was an accident? Like, you know, it wasn't an accident.
So what happened then? Like,
because
tell me.
Well, in that oven, in any oven, industrial oven like that, there's a blast door at the back.
Okay.
So when an explosion like that goes off, that blast door drops down, and the blast, the force that killed Dave, that would have gone out of the back. It wouldn't have got Dave. Dave would have just got blown out like I would, and we would have just got burnt a bit. The force of the blast would have gone out the back, but that blast door at the back of the oven was stacked up and blocked off with like bloody 6 and 7 foot high pallets of rusk that we mixed in with the pastry and stuff like that. So the blast door couldn't go anywhere, it was blocked off. So the only way that the blast could have gone is out front. And by chance, when the bloody blast has gone off, there's some other malfunctions gone on with the tube inside the door, and it weren't working, and every time you press the button, it releases gas in the oven, and a large amount, and it had been pressed too many times, and but no matter what went malfunction with the door, with the cylinders, the gas cylinders inside, the blast would still have gone out of the back if it hadn't have been blocked off. So the only point of exit it had was the front. And unfortunately, me and Dave had the door open because we were checking pies. We often had a cup of coffee and had a pie while we were checking the pies and doing his job, you know what I mean? And unfortunately, me and Dave were stood just inside the oven. He was checking the pies. I was stood behind talking to him, drinking my coffee. And next thing you know, kaboom. And that was that. I mean, do you want to know the good thing, buddy?
There's a good thing out of this?
Here's the thing. And I don't know what people are going to think of this, but I have a tattoo of an exploding pork pie on my back, my lower back. I do. I have a tattoo of an exploding pork pie, and I love it. I had it done a couple of years ago. My tattooist that was doing this for me suggested it. He says, you know, if you're looking for another tattoo to cover that one up at the bottom of your back, just have this done. So I was like, I'll tell you what, you draw it up for me and I'll have it done. You know what I mean? And yeah, about a year ago, I went in and I went, right,
let's do it.
Here we go. So,
I'll see if I can get a picture of that to show the viewers, and I'll stick it over that part of the video if I manage to get it. Also, the picture of the news article, if we can dig that up at some point. Don't get it now, but take a photo of it and I'll put it in. And anything that we've got, really, I'll stick it in there for reference so that people can see it as well.
I mean, people that view this, they're more than welcome to just put in Andrew Jones Pie Factory into your search engine
and have a look at what
we can put them up, but you know, they're more than welcome to have a look themselves if they want.
Brilliant.
It was a big thing at the time. It was in 2009, April the 10th.
Mm-hmm.
So 15, nearly 16 years ago. But the thing is, just because there was only me that got the physical and psychological injuries from it.
Yeah.
The other people that were there, I think they were, I suppose they were traumatized by seeing the explosion from the outside, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And as for Dave, the other guy that had to jump out of one of the windows, like, yeah, that, I can't imagine that, because what, it's like, what do you do when an explosion goes off? You go into panic mode, don't you? I think any of us would.
You go into just, safety mode, don't you? You try and get everyone safe and
try and survive. Like your survival instincts kick in.
I think everyone has them. It just takes a certain trigger,
a
certain event to happen in order for that to go off and people to. I've been in a situation before where something's occurred in front of me, and people that grew up with me know this, and we've run out and seen an incident happening there, and then you just go into autopilot, don't you? And you try and fix whatever's happening.
You just try and, if there's other people involved, I tend to sort of look to anyone else that's there to make, like, is there anyone there, like, I better bloody, I'm alright, obviously. The first thing I do is assess, I'm like, right, I'm fine, I can go find out other people, make sure other people are alright, but in that explosion, that just weren't the case.
They couldn't run into you, and they had to make sure the building was safe. And
as you heard that guy say, we're going to have to assess and make sure the building's safe before we can even send a crane in,
It's amazing that you survived even until they got to you, never mind them getting you out with the snapped back and all the rest of it. And
as far as I hear, see, I was figuring, did I get airlifted out? But as I got told, the two guys that worked there that was on the outside when the explosion went off, they saw my feet, or they saw a pair of feet. They didn't know who it was, because they thought there was me and the two Daves in the building. But the other Dave was in the other rooms. That's how he managed to jump out of the window, because the explosion was in the room that we was in.
Right.
So, sort of, the explosion went off and I got dragged out of the back, not the front. I got dragged out of the back, and the ambulance came round the back, and that's where they sort of helped get me. But Dave, who had already passed, he was still in, but on the other side of the same room that I was in. Like, I was here near the back doors.
Yeah.
He was here underneath, because where the office was there, and the office had blown completely over. Like, the manager had been rung that morning. Here, Chris, he came out, he was sat in the office on the phone to the engineers to come and have a look at these ovens. He was on the phone and boom, it just happened. The office blew over him, and I mean, I heard some stories about the manager and what had happened to him since the accident. Like he'd been gone to a loony bin over it, you know.
Really?
Like yeah,
Wow.
mate. I'm doing pretty good considering. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Chris was, I think he was in his like mid-50s at the time, and he'd done some really screwed up things. Like this guy was having bad nightmares, like night terrors and stuff. Like his wife was keeping the staff, like the other members of staff there, updated on Chris's progress.
Right.
I rang Chris a few times and he wouldn't even speak to me. He'd answer the phone, but he wouldn't talk to me. He'd be like, Marcus, I just don't know what to say to you. And I'm like, what to say to me? I'm ringing to make sure you're all right. Do you know what I mean? And he didn't know what to say to me. And I'm like, wow. You see, so in that aspect, it's affected people like Chris, my manager at the time, and the owner, Andrew himself, because he's gone through the mill as well psychologically. Like it's blown him because it was his company, and it's got to him in the head. So it's damaged other people that was there psychologically worse than it has me to some respects. You know what I mean? Because
Well, I mean, at least you had your experience and had your granddad talk to you, and you probably didn't leave him in a panic.
no,
Which is,
he was happy. I was happy.
It's almost like it was therapy through your whole process, whereas these guys just had this crazy thing happen to them, and they just had to try and live with it with no sort of like evidence of anything after death or any kind of closure of.
It's a weird thing though, because because you've been there and you've seen potentially what life is like when you die, on where you go. It's like, because I was there and I enjoyed it that much, like for the first 4 or 5 years, and this is a hard one to even go into, but for the first like 4 or 5 years, I'd witnessed something that like I enjoyed. You know what I mean? Like, for the first time in a long time in my childhood, teenage life, early adulthood, because this explosion happened when I was like 23.
I was going to say this was early adulthood.
Yeah, it was. I think, was I 23? Yeah. I'd been and gone in the army. Yeah, I was about 23. I'd just gone 23, I think.
Yeah, you said
in
15 years ago, so
yeah.
That was, we're both 38 now, so
Yeah, we're both the same age. I forgot that.
Yeah, man.
It's one of them, man.
And hey, he looks great for 38 and been an explosion, right?
Oh, yeah.
You're all in one piece, man. You got a better physique than I have, and I haven't been in an explosion. Maybe I need to go next to an oven and just blow myself up, guys.
Dude, it does wonders for your figure, man. I'm telling you.
On that note, what have you had done? Like,
what do you mean?
Like, how did they fix you up? When you're in an explosion, you don't really come out without the scars, do you?
Well, what they did is, first of all, they had to re-inflate my lung. So I've got a nice, wonderful scar up here from where they'd sort of stabbed the tube in and re-inflated it. And then on my back, I had a scar that just a straight line down my spine.
Right.
Where they'd repeatedly
gone into that,
cut into it to thing, and then sort of towards the back end, I come out of hospital in the July that same year, and by the November, I'd come out in July, and then by the November, like early November, I was back in hospital because I'd got a spinal infection because of the rods.
Right.
They'd reacted badly with my blood, and they caused a really bad infection. And my fucking back looks like have you ever seen the Toxic Avengers?
Yeah.
It looks like that, man. Like, it was just bubbling up. And I went down, so I took my top off, went downstairs to my parents, because I was living with them at the time.
I was shocked, man, to see that.
I just turned round. My mother dropped to her knees. God's honest, my mother dropped to her knees. She was distressed in tears. My dad had to calm her down, call an ambulance, explain what had gone on and what I'd previously had done and gone through.
Yeah.
They was out like a shot. and they get me, boom, blue light, quick as hell, straight to Leeds, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was straight in, the neurosurgeon that done all the work, he was straight out, he'd been emergency called out the lot, and I was in a theatre room within hours of getting to the hospital.
Wow.
And that was the start, because I went in November and didn't come out till like the February the year after, and I'd had
Bloody hell.
26 operations, because they had to keep taking me into surgery to have the suction pump put in, and then I'd have to go back into surgery 4 weeks later to have it taken out, and then there's still an infection, so they get me back into surgery to have the suction pump put in, and every time I had to carry around this fucking box, and my arms at this point still was like thinner than my wrist.
Yeah.
And that was my
and you're
whole
trying
arm.
But that keeps you going,
And
right?
I was just using this thing as like a weightlifting. Just every time I needed to go to the toilet, I had a drip pole in one hand and this box in the other one.
Keep you going.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To walk around and stabilise myself.
Unbelievable. But you should, again,
Mate,
there's you walking around having back operations and rods taken in and out of you.
Mate.
And
well, a surgeon comes. You know, as a kid when you're told don't do that, it's hot, or you know when you're told not to do something as a kid, so you do it anyway.
Yeah.
Well, it was like adult my my neurosurgeon comes in, and he's got my parents with him, and he's there giving me this speech, buttering it all up, trying to ice it over a bit to give me the bad news, and he's like, there's like, what was it, like a low percent chance of being able to walk, like an 18% chance of being able to walk because of the spinal operations that have been done and the nerve damage and stuff like that and all this stuff. And the whole time he started talking, I heard no chance of walking again, and that was it. I stopped listening. I waited for him to bugger off, and I just got on the edge of my bed one night.
Yeah.
I think it weren't that night. I was too upset. I was just laid in my bed sobbing, like I couldn't believe it. But the next day, I still had my catheter thing in. But I figured, if I start practicing walking to the toilet and back, I can ask him to take that out and go to the toilet myself. So then I've got a reason to have to get up then. I have to get up and I have to walk. So that happened. A couple of days down the line, they took that catheter thing out, which, by the way, fucking hurt. Really hurt. And they took that out, and they said that there may be blood for the first couple of times that I ever pee. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. They didn't want me to be worried or no. So that was basically me getting myself, that was me, like I said, being defiant.
Yeah.
I weren't being told, like,
Human defiance is amazing.
Yeah, I just weren't having it, like, because the thing is, I didn't know it's because my legs won't work or because my back weren't strong enough or no. I weren't really computing why I had no chance of walking. Like, do you know what I mean? I weren't computing any of that. I didn't want to listen to that. So after a while, I just switched off and stopped listening to him because it was like I'd already made my mind up that I was going to walk. So it's,
Yeah.
I don't need this. I'm getting up and I'm shuffling around. I can get to the toilet myself. It's just, as where you can leave yourself so long before needing to go to the toilet, I had to go before I even knew I needed to go, do you know what I mean? To make sure that I got there on time, because a journey from sort of here to sort of the other side of this room would take me like 15 minutes, because it was literally slow shuffling every like 5-10 seconds. It was the slowest ever, but it was determination. It was determination, man.
And I bet every single time you went in, you got called into the hospital, you was just like, when am I just going to stay at home? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, when is it just going to stop so that you can just...
I had district nurses coming out. I had the mobile hospital appointment units coming to pick me up.
I can imagine, man. It must have just been an absolute nightmare for
Well, my back was... They sent me home, but for the first, year, my back was still open. In fact, you can take some photos of it. My back is still open to this day. Like the wound at the top where the suction pumps were put in, that is still open today. I'm still having that treated and dressings put on it
Right.
Like even to this day by my support workers.
Right, just to get it healed up because it's
Just
not
to
healing.
yeah, because it what the hole is like that. It was like that, and over the years it's slowly come together. But now it's still sort of it's still open. You can't see the muscles or the nerves in it anymore, but it's still open, and that's 15, nearly 16 years down the line. Do you know what I mean? So it's some of the things I'm still suffering from some of the effects.
Yeah.
I mean, I need glasses now. I didn't, my eyesight was absolutely fine before.
Yeah. New teeth as well.
Yeah, new teeth. Yeah,
Yeah.
I won't take them out because you don't want to see that. Do you know what I mean? But it took me about 10 years to get my teeth sorted because when the explosion went off, any crowns or fillings that I had, it blew all them completely out. They probably went straight down my throat, maybe. And the rest of them just got snapped, cracked, everything. And then over the years, because I continued to bloody smoke and all, I've just damaged them and not looked after them generally. Like, obviously with the state of mind that you're in when you go through something like this.
Yeah.
Taking care of your teeth is the last thing on your mind. So it's, it took like 10 years to get my teeth sorted. And I still go to a private dentist to this day to keep them looked after and maintained, and because these are in like suctions, so you can't take them out very easily. They're stuck in because there's little suction things inside.
Keep them in.
There to
So
keep them in.
literally to take them out, they probably need to get in underneath and pull them up.
Yeah, like
to pop them off.
I can't get my fingers in to do that because my nails. So what I do is I push underneath here
to come in,
and it takes some doing, but eventually they come out. I have to push.
That's
on
good
top
because you do
there,
want them solidly in there. I bet the suction version's probably better.
Yeah, I mean it does a lot better for my confidence because after that explosion, my confidence it's like a roller coaster because I went in the army and my confidence went right up. And then I come out and it dipped a bit, but went back up, and then went up a bit more, and then that explosion happened, and then I saw my teeth, and it just went plummeted like that.
Yeah.
And then I got them done and sorted again, and now it's it's sort of coming back up now.
As you can imagine.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Yeah, I mean.
That's insane.
Yeah, the thing is that like.
That's insane.
I would tell people like. It's like how people have got like special abilities. It's like and this is another thing that I don't want to sound crazy, but it's like like deja vu is seeing the same thing twice.
Yeah.
Like the same events twice. Well, it's like I'll sit back like this, and I'll just drift away in my head, and I'll see something happen. And then I'll go out later on that day or a couple of days later and I'll see it happen again. So like I'll see something now and I'll be able to say to you, do you know, I've just seen this and this and this. And then we'll see it. And it's, you know what I mean?
Kind of like manifesting it, that it's going to happen and manifesting that event.
It's ever since that explosion, man. Like, I'm telling you, it's dying and then coming back to life does something to you, man. I'm telling you, it does. Like even though you're still alive, it does something to you, like to your mind, like it. I don't know, man. I can't explain.
It's crazy as well because everyone I know that knows you, that has spoke to me about you, like throughout the game that we played, they always say the same thing. You are high on life, and you love life, and you're always happy, despite having all this happening and everything gone on in your life. Now at this point, you always seem to be happy and you're always cheery and you lighten up everyone when you come on and that. And,
hell yeah, man.
That's what I get from you, buddy. And
well, it's life, innit? That's how you've got to be in life, man. There's no point coming online and going, "Hi everybody, you're right." Like, you know what I mean? I can't even like make an example of it just to think, because it makes me feel sad, man. I just, you know what I'm like, hey up everyone, how you all doing?
Yeah,
like,
you've got enthusiasm and you put emotion into what you're saying, whether it be good or bad, and it makes it real, right? Expression
goes a long way, It's like, if you're explaining something that involves, an angry state of mind or a frustrated state of mind,
it will come across that way.
It'll be like, you know, it'll be sort of grit teeth kind of thing. But whenever I'm talking about, like, when people ask me about the accident specifically, like, everyone that I've ever spoke to about it, including yourself and other guildies on EQ that I've spoke to about it on Discord, you know, they'll all tell you that, like, I'll talk about it, like, boom, straight away. Like, I don't mind talking about it, because it might have been a bad thing that happened, but at the point in life, the kind of lifestyle I were leading at the time before that accident weren't really good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like...
Yeah, I can imagine.
That explosion happened, and I went through like a homeless stage as well. During, like, after the explosion for about 12 or 13 months, like, I had a home, but it was that bad, and that my head had gone that way south because of all the mental health issues undiagnosed that I had at the time. Like, I was just, my head had gone, so I was just like living like in bus stops and just like walking the streets till like 6 and 7 in the morning. Then I'd just go home and just like sleep on the living room floor in front of the fire or something. You know what I mean? Like, I was just living pretty bad. But like, you go through this kind of life, and you realise, even though that explosion was bad, living like this was even worse. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, when you've lived like that and you've had to survive like that, it shows you that there's more than physical strength inside a human. Do you know what I mean? There's mental strength. There's, if you're a positive, outgoing guy,
you'll probably end up with a positive outgoing result.
You get positive results, positive outgoing. You get a positive response from anyone that you talk to. Like, there's so many times I've gone into a shop, mate, and I've seen someone there behind the counter, and I've been and I've had to go, "Hey up, missus, cheer up, come on now, smile," and they just go, just to cheer somebody up for me makes my day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's important, and I think you're right. Is if you live every day like that, upset with yourself and upset with the world, or upset with it shows. No one, it doesn't. You don't gain anything. No one's going to come up to you and change your life because they won't want to be near you.
No, it's like
reflecting the bad.
Yeah, you'll just be known as that negative guy that's always down. Do you know? And you don't want to be that guy.
Yeah,
so
no one wants that.
If I ever talk about this explosion, this pie factory thing, I always try and tell it with a positive spin. I mean, I could have sat here and said to you, "Oh, so." Yeah, I got blown up and I had this injury and that injury and this other injury and that injury and this happened to me and that. But it's like, you didn't ask for me to put you down. Do you know what I mean? You asked to hear about an event in my life, and that's all. Like, you didn't ask for me to like then start going deep into like my emotions and my feelings at specific. You know what I mean? It's like, I want to tell you the story, but put a good spin on it. Like, look at how I live now, you know? Like, I have my Doctor Who and my sister and my nieces and nephews here, like...
Yeah. I mean, anyone who's experienced... Sorry to cut you off. Anyone who's experienced anything like that will know what you're talking about there. About the deep battles that you have at each and every moment where something new pops up, a new challenge happens, you've been told something by a doctor which you didn't want to hear. How many times did they come and tell you bad news and you've just gone, I just want to give up now?
Yeah.
You know.
There was a fair half a dozen times, like, just...
Anyone who's been through anything like that, cancer, illness, accident, took long recovery, they probably asked themselves these questions and battled through it themselves. So that I'm sure people will relate to you when you say all of this stuff, like the whole battle of it all. But I'm glad you want to put a positive spin on it. Yeah. It's not just a doom and gloom. And you're right, I could have asked you, like, how did you feel in this moment? Was you in a lot of pain? I think people would... You've been blown up. You've had back surgery. I think people they know you're going to be in a lot of pain, right?
Yeah.
But I think what's more important is that the message that people take from this interview, folks, is that what's happened to you...
Yeah. I mean,
you're a happy person right now.
Yeah, I mean, how often do you know me to be sort of, you know, a down and negative kind of guy? Do you know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah, you have the odd day.
yeah.
But if I speak to you on Discord and something, and you're like, Rob, you know, I'm feeling. You don't even have to tell me. Sometimes we just chat, and then you're like, you know what, Rob? I was down 10 minutes ago, but I'm all right now.
See, this is why, like, I love like when you do like you just like do calls to check in on with me. Like, I'm like, hey, bud, what's up, man? Straight away, my response to anyone who rings me is, oh, what's up, man? You all right? Like, yeah, I'm just checking in, man. I'm like, oh, all right, dude, yeah, man, love you long time, all right. Do you know what I mean?
That's what it's all about,
Because,
though, isn't it? It's just knowing that someone else is thinking about you, even if they're just got to ask you something or whatever it is, you know, like...
Even if it's just a text to say, hey, up, bud, just checking in, mate, text me back, yeah? You know what I mean? It's something simple, and it's something that keeps people happy. Like, it's that thing of life's too short, isn't it? Like, the explosion happened, I lived, and then I sort of went on with the days, then weeks, then months, then years, and I am where I am, you know? It is what it is. Like, I don't think I'll ever look back on that explosion as a bad thing that happened to me in my life anymore. You know what I mean?
You're past
because,
that.
yeah, I'm past letting it be a bad thing, a bad experience in my life, because it, you know, it taught me a lot as well. It taught me a lot about life, about faith, about not so much luck, but how blessed we are to, like, even if you've only got one person in your life, that's one person more than somebody else has got. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, it taught me to appreciate
one reason
people
to be
more.
around her, one reason to stick around.
That's why, like, the friends that I've acquired in our guild have become close friends. Like, you know some of the other ones as well as yourself. There's a number of other.
Right, welcome back to part 2 of the interview with Marcus Cartwright, and we're going to go back to full screen, and we're going to go through some more information on his accident and what he went through. So, let's get straight into it, folks. Marcus.
Yes,
how you feeling so far, buddy? Got through an hour so far.
Not bad, man.
It's been alright, isn't it? We've found so much stuff out about... We've got coffees, by the way, folks. Tucking in if you need a coffee. Get your coffees out. We're coffee fans. Well, I am. Are you a tea or a coffee man?
I am a coffee.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Coffee. I used to be tea like a long time ago. But yeah. I like a nice local house coffee now from the place up the road. So, like a nice small little jar. Yeah. You're drinking the same stuff.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. It's nice.
Coffee's good.
It's nice cheap. It's like £1.69 a jar. You know what I mean?
Sweet.
Yeah.
So we found some documents actually during our break. I'm going to take some photos and I'll upload these into and put them into the video. But yeah, awesome. We've also got some newspaper articles and some other information there. So absolutely brilliant stuff in terms of all the information we found on the accident down at the pie factory. And he was 23 years old, right? So
yeah, 23. I went 24 that same year, in the August that same year.
So you went into the army and then you came out, and that was your first job back out at the army?
Yeah, no, my second job back out, that was. I worked at, before that, I worked at an IT place, like with one of them job agencies.
Right, okay.
I'd signed up to one of them job agencies because, like I said, my partner at the time was pregnant with my daughter, so, you know, it was all about earning as much money as possible, like getting a good steady job kind of thing, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was like job agency. They got me one job and I worked there for about 2 years.
Right.
And then, sort of sadly, they didn't need me anymore, so went back to the job agency and they got me a job working at that pie factory.
Right.
And I'd been working there over a year and a half, maybe just under a year and a half, before this happened. So I'd worked there quite a while, you know. I mean, that's why I agreed to go in and work that Good Friday, like I did, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
just going to make this smaller and then make the page bigger, just because the recording from previous, it was quite a big window in the corner there, wasn't it? Yeah. Didn't really see the point of it. But yeah, okay, so I kind of want to go back to, so I want to ask more questions in this part of the interview, and I want to go back to in the ambulance, because that for me is the supernatural part of this. Like, it's the part that no one can really explain, and we need to. So although we went into a lot of detail, I mean, 4 times.
Yeah.
4 times that
I've been told I died 4 times
in that trip to Leeds.
Yeah.
In the ambulance that was going like 10 miles an hour because they couldn't go fast.
Yeah, they couldn't go above that because the whole point of having to get me from Huddersfield to Leeds was because they didn't have the right equipment to cater for someone with a massive spine injury and a brain injury like mine. So but at the same time, they had to sort of keep me sturdy and keep me as still as possible, getting all the way there. And when I got there, they'd sort of got me on the table and sort of re-broke my spine completely flattened me out. Done the operation to put the titanium rods in my spine and the nuts and bolts. Once they'd put them in, they'd sort of put me on my back into a bed and you know, stitched it all up and everything, and then it was just a case then of just being in recovery. But so that I wasn't struggling and wouldn't move, they had to put me in an induced coma for a month.
Yeah.
Just so that spine could fuse back together properly without me disturbing it. Do you know what I mean? Because as you can imagine, with the explosion going off and the sort of knock to the head and everything and disorientated and all that, it was like I couldn't help but fight and bloody struggle and whatnot. So that, you know, I was induced into a coma. It was
scary stuff. And also, like, just being in a coma for that long, that puts other pressures on your body, like your muscles not using them, not moving your limbs and all the rest of it.
When I eventually came round from that coma, I just thought it was the next day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because like, you're just out and you're in.
This happened in the April. Like, the last I knew, it was Good Friday, which was the April. Like, I knew that. But I didn't think that we were bloody in July by the time I'd come round and I was, you know, compass mentis with the world again. I just thought it was like the next day in April. Like,
Jesus, man.
Like, it's weird, mate, because like I said before, like, a lot of things had happened in just that 1 month that I was in a coma. A lot had happened in just that time alone. But the whole 6 months that I was in hospital, I only became sort of compass mentis and able to walk to a point that I can get into a wheelchair from a bed, you know what I mean, in that time. So, yeah, it's one of them.
Took a while.
It's confusing.
You lost a lot of time. So going back to when you first, because it was your granddad that you saw every single time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it was just a white room with a single bench. When you first entered this room, saw the bench, you must have thought to yourself, what's this place and what the hell is a bench doing there randomly? Like,
well, it's like,
what did you think when you first went in?
The first thing I noticed was the fact that it was just white, like you know when you go to sleep and outside looks normal and it snowed that much that it's just white when you open your curtains.
Yeah.
It was literally like that. 1 minute it went dark, next minute, bang, I'm in a white room. I look around and I'm like, I'm trying to figure out where I am, but there's nothing but white. And then all of a sudden, bang, there's a white stone bench and my granddad sat on the other end of it. And he's just calling me over. Like he would if I was playing outside in the garden, he'd call me over like with just the 2 fingers like that and just, you know, come here, like sort of thing. And he just called me over and I sat down. And this is where I have to, like, because obviously I died 4 times for like 6 to 10 seconds each time. So I don't know if it's what I remember or because I died, it was all one sequence. You know what I mean? Like, the 4 times that I died was just all one thing to me. Like, it weren't like it weren't like split up into the 4 times.
Like,
you know what I mean?
It was going in a circle of
it was
visuals.
like, it was almost like we'd talk for a while.
Yeah.
And then it'd just go silent and he'd disappear. And I'd still be sat there just by myself, and then he'd reappear, and we'd just carry on talking. You know what I mean? Like it's a crazy thing to try and explain to someone that hasn't had the like death or near death experience. It's difficult to try and explain, but that's literally how it was. Like the 4 times that I died in the back of the ambulance was just him disappearing, talking, coming back and talk, like, you know, just filling me in on what it's been like with my grandma and my Uncle Toby, and, you know, just people like just letting me know what life's been like for him, and asking me about down here, is my sister okay? Because my sister was close to my granddad as well. It's stuff like that, and like obviously I'm telling him, oh, you know, I'm comfortable here, like you know, I want to stay here, kind of thing. It's, you know, and he's like ushering me away, like, you know, it's time for you to go now. And it was like every time he disappeared, it was like, all right, it's time for you to go now. Go on, son, on you go. Which is what he'd say to me as a kid when he was telling me I had to go back to mum and dad's. Like, come on now, son, it's time for you to go now. You know what I mean? It was the same thing as when as a kid. He was like, come on now, son, you gotta go now. Off you go. And then he'd disappear. And then obviously they brought me back, and then I've died again, and then bang, it just reappears. That's the only way I can describe it.
And what would he say to you then? Would he explain why he's reappeared?
No, not that I can remember. Like, I can remember some things that we talked about, and they were just general things. You know what I mean? Like it was, like I said before, it was clear in my head. Even thinking back now, all this time later, it's like it's still clear as day in my head, like it happened. Do you know what I mean? Like it was an actual event in my life that happened. Like it, and I don't know whether it's because I died, or something in my head when I died that's lodged that into my brain. I don't know. I can't explain it. I can only like say what happened,
what you saw,
and like what I saw, or like what I can remember.
Could you
like,
sense his presence or feel it when you were sat next to him?
I mean, for the first, and this is like God's honest, for the first couple of years after, he used to wear that what's that old man aftershave called?
Old Spice.
Old Spice. He used to wear that, and I swear I had a constant smell of that under my nostrils for the first God knows how many years after that.
Really?
And to say that I have a poor sense of smell now because of all the debris and stuff that had burnt all my sinuses and all that kind of thing, it was a bit strange to me. And then obviously remembering that and sort of thinking about that all the time, even when I fall asleep to dream, like I'll be thinking about that. Like I'll try and dream about that, and I just
remember.
Yeah, I don't know. Trying to find some kind of, I don't know, sense of it, like make some sense of it, or do you know what I mean? Because it's, to explain it is...
It sounds like you're not fully convinced
that
it happened, because it does seem so surreal, but you know it happened. And it sounds to me like you question what you saw, but you know what you saw is out of this unexplainable. It's not explainable.
Yeah, it's like because I know the one fact I know that is fact because of the people that told me it, doctors as well. The only fact I know is I died 4 times. And for 6 to 10 seconds a time. That's all I know.
Did it feel like you were talking to your grandfather for longer than 6 to 10 seconds?
That's what I mean. It's a bit like on an aeroplane, isn't it? You know when you go on a plane and you've been on a plane for like half an hour, but it feels like you've been on there like an hour and a half. It's like that. It like...
Time just goes.
Yeah. It I don't know, distorts in a way. Do you know what I mean? Like they say 6 to 10 seconds that I was gone, and that was enough time for them to revive me back. But in my head, it was a lot longer than that, dude. It was like, it was the equivalent to going on like a 3-mile walk out and a 3-mile walk back with my granddad. Do you know what I mean?
Really? Like, it really felt that long?
Literally, it was so long. Like, but the thing about, I can only remember bits of what we talked about and what we did, like kind of thing. And do you know what I mean? But it just seems like, to say that that I've been told facts of how long I was sort of dead for before they sort of revived me back again, it's like like that length of time being dead doesn't seem. It seems like I was like gone. I was dead longer because of how long I seemed to be with him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
it seems.
It's crazy, man.
It's crazy to try and understand, isn't it? But there's so many people out there that hopefully are watching this that can relate to what you're saying, because obviously events and tragic events, unfortunate wrong place wrong time events happen every day, and there are a lot of people out there that try and explain what happened in their NDE, and they draw it. They show all kinds of ways to describe their NDE.
Yeah.
And I don't think you've ever. This is like the first time you've ever tried to describe it properly, like as far as I'm aware.
Well, I don't know whether that's because no one's really asked me to go in depth about it, or whether I just, went like, because there's some people that'll ask me about it, and then I'll start telling them, and then they'll be like a bit freaked out too much that they just change the subject. Do you know what I mean? So I've never had the opportunity to go any deeper into it.
Do you reckon they just go, this guy's had a few too many knocks on the head, and...
Yeah, they think you're fucking crazy, like, you know what I mean?
Unbelievable, isn't it? Because you have to go through that kind of experience to experience it.
Yeah,
so, so how can you be crazy in the head if...
Well, it's one of the other things. I'm left with, as long as the back injury and the other injuries that I told you about, one of the other ones is I've got permanent brain damage, see?
Yeah.
I've got really bad scarring to the brain itself, so it's...
Which is not, it's invisible, but it's there, it's damage. And folks, just so that you're all aware, I have seen the damage on Marcus, on his back, and the level of scarring he's got, and looking at it now, you'd have thought he'd done it a week ago still, because it still looks like it's healing, and it's been...
15, nearly 16 years next year.
It's unbelievable, and I was going to show it, but it's actually too graphic. I won't. So
yeah.
But mate, you're a soldier, an absolute soldier for going through it, having that mentality, and I'm sure people, the audience will agree. It's phenomenal that you're still here. Never mind the fact that you got hit by a bus afterwards. I'm just gonna. I've got to.
That was me being clumsy, to be fair.
If anyone in the UK knows the saying, you'll get hit by a bus one day.
Yeah, I kind of got distracted. The quick one on that is I saw a friend of mine. This happened not long after I'd moved down here.
Yeah.
I bumped into a friend of mine from years back. He called me across the road, and when I'd looked, there was nothing there, and so I've run across the road, and as I've run across the road, I've looked to my left to where he is, and this bus has just come round the corner and bang, hit me. It kind of hit me from one side, spun me round straight into the wall across the road, and I was a bit concussed because when it spun me into
just
the wall, my head just...
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
pancake.
I was a little bit concussed, but
your skull's probably like, leave me alone.
Mate, that's it. I mean, I think
resilience is just unbelievable.
Oh mate, it's one of the. Do you know another thing about the oven door? So you know the oven door itself. When the oven door blew off, it blew and it hit me. And at the time, I was a lot bigger. Like I was weight training 2 and 3 times a day outside my job. So I was pretty big, and I've seen the door. I haven't got a picture of it, but I've seen the door. There's an imprint of my body in the oven door that blew off because it hit me and bounced me, ricocheted me off. The guy that passed away, it ricocheted me off him, and then I've gone this way. The door's hit me, just fallen on the floor. But there's an imprint of my body on the oven door. So
I tell you what, the door hitting you might have saved you some burns as well.
Yeah, I think it did, because the door ricocheted me slightly the other direction. So when the roof caved in, because the roof caved in like 3 parts apparently.
Yeah.
It caved in one part where it got Dave, and then it caved in the other part where I was literally meters away from him. It caved in there, but there was a big steel girder. I was laid snapped back the other way against it. And where the roof caved in, it was sort of like laid slanted, laid over me like that. So they pulled me feet first out of the gap.
Oh my goodness.
And then you talk, I like sort of 5-6 minutes later or so, the rest of the roof just caved in, and there was like a big freezer apparently that just did a big explosion of its own as well, because it all caved in on top of that. So it was pretty bad.
Wow, you would have got finished then.
You were pretty bad,
get
mate.
you out any quicker.
Mate, here's the best thing. When I got out of hospital, I went down because they relocated. You know the company.
Yeah.
They relocated a little bit further down from where they were. I went to the company, and they had gas cylinders, but you know the ones where if a flame catches it, it just sucks it in and kills the flame. I didn't know it was one of them, and I've gone down to Andrew Jones's where they've relocated. I'm talking to Andrew Jones. I'm talking to some of the other staff members that are working there still, my mates and that. And as I'm stood there talking to Richard and the other Dave, this canister pipe set on fire and just like this. Mate, I just went, whoa, yeah, I'm getting out of here. I just walked out of there. I was like...
I don't blame you.
I was bricking it, mate. I was like, not again. And that was just a gas cylinder. That was just a gas... Do you know what I mean? The thing is, that affected me the rest of my life, you know?
Yeah.
Anywhere that I've moved house to, I would always ask the person showing me in, where's the kitchen?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, well, when you go in, and they'll show me where it is, and I'll be like, right, okay, well, do you mind if I come in a different door, because I don't want to go anywhere near the kitchen, because I don't know what oven you've got in there, or it's a gas oven. Yeah, do you know what, I don't think I'm alright seeing the house, you know what I mean? I've seen the pictures, it's all good, don't worry about it, do you know what I mean? That, and I won't take one with a gas oven in it. Bonfire nights are even worse, mate. This accident is one of those that didn't just physically harm me or mentally harm me, it scarred me internally for the rest of my life, man.
Yeah.
I can only just 15, nearly 6 years down the line, stand at a bonfire, and even then, I'll be there so long, and I don't know, maybe it's something about the flames or something about the fireworks when they go off. It just makes me.
You just gained a respect for it, mate, that you never had before. You
Yes.
fully respect fire and gas and the dangers of it and
what it can do to you. Do you know what I mean?
I think your sensible side of you probably just says just stay away from it. Nothing will happen.
As funny as it is, I went into Greg's. This was only about 3 years ago. I went into a Greg's in Wolverhampton.
Yeah.
I was stood in there behind my sister getting served, and this from the oven popped. And no word, I dropped to the floor behind the counter, and everyone's like, the next thing I know, everyone's like looking at me, and I stood up, and my sister's like, it's all right. It was in a factory explosion, you know. And we asked them what were that, and they just went, oh no, that's just it was a normal noise that the oven does or something. It weren't like a bad bang.
Yeah, but it was enough to startle you.
Yeah, it was something to do with, it was meant to happen, something to do with the oven, but because of that explosion, it's that slightest things like that affects me, you know what I mean? I still have night terrors and stuff from it every now and again.
No,
it's
I can fully understand why you would as well. It's courage even going back into your old workplace, even if it was a different building. You know that they run in the same business.
I wanted to see my workmates is what it was, but I weren't quite. I don't think I was quite ready for that to happen. Because because I stood in the packing area talking to them in the production bit.
Right.
So I was nowhere near the new ovens where they put the ovens. I was nowhere near them. I don't think I even saw them. I just saw this gas canister that was near where I was talking to Richard and Dave and everyone.
Yeah.
So, it's only because it was flipping about, I saw the fire coming out of it. I was like, and I ran. I sort of beelined and straight for the doors again. And I just stood outside my mates were good enough to come outside and talk to me outside. They're like, mate, I'm so sorry about that. I was like, it's a bit rough that. You know what I mean? But it's one of them that I've told you before, it is what it is nowadays.
Because nothing you can do about it now, just accept that it's happened and, accident or not. or whether it's just
It's one of those that you call a freak accident, isn't it? It's one of those things in life that it happens. You've got to sort of live with the circumstances that you've got after the fact, and
and you're still here.
Yeah, you keep
You're
moving
still here.
forward.
There's got to be a reason for it, buddy.
Yeah.
There are people that have had less happen to them that didn't make it.
This
Do
is
you know
it.
what I mean?
Yeah. It's we've all got a purpose of still being here. You know what I mean? This is something that I've picked up after that. Like, I've got a sister and a daughter in the world. You know what I mean? Nieces and nephews that I care very much about, love to the earth and that kind of thing. So I think me surviving that explosion, and I believe it was because I was still needed here, and that's what my granddad was saying. Hey, on you go. You need to look after your sister. You know what I mean? Because me and my sister was very close. We went to see my grandparents together. Like, we was always together, and so it's. Yeah, we were close to my granddad, and we're very close to each other still. So it's
Good.
That's the reason I'm in West Midlands. You know what I mean? So I think that's why he's like, go on, you know.
Yeah.
I think
Come back.
that's my purpose for being here. I've got people that need me. So.
And going back to the vision and stuff, like, obviously, you have got people here that need you and stuff. But do you think your granddad really knew that? Do you think deep down?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, like, and I think I might have said this to you like before. I always say that when we die, no matter what happens physically to us bodies as shell, everyone's got a soul, good or bad. Everyone's got a soul. So, and I think that's what happens. Like, when you die, that's what happens. Like, you go up there and you spend time with the ones that you cared about, that you were close to when they were still here. Do you know what I mean? It's your time to reunite with the people that have passed in your life that you cared about. So, yeah, I believe that even now that I'm still alive, I believe because of that experience I had when I passed away for that short time.
You believe you'll experience something again when you do eventually go.
And I also believe that there are people up there, whether you call them spirits or who they are. For me and my granddad, like, there is people watching down on us every now and again. Like, just because bad things happen to us don't mean to say that there isn't somebody watching out for us up there, you know? So I do believe that. You know what I mean? And I believe that,
it's not too far-fetched either, really.
This is it. We can't be human beings on the earth to be just human shells and that's it. You know what I mean? There's got to be
something within that powers us.
There's got to be something that travels up. You know what I mean? Like, that's
or goes down, or just Or
I mean,
whatever energy I don't think we fully understand it, do we? Otherwise, we wouldn't be sitting here asking questions.
I mean, I can think of a few bloody naughty people that are going fucking down, like, you know.
Well, potentially, yeah.
But
I'm with you on that one.
I think me and you are fine though, mate. I
don't know. It was only this morning on the way to McDonald's we were just talking about how we're going to hell.
Oh yeah, because we like telling jokes.
Yeah. We'll leave that for another day. Anyway, we're going to end the interview on some fire-fast questions.
Ooh,
so I'm going to fire out some questions to you, and you're just going to answer them as quickly as you can. Try and give 1 or 2 word answers.
Oh.
Try and be as truthful as you can. They're nothing serious, nothing crazy, but also, like, if you fire it out quick, then quick fire. If you fire it out quick, then generally we get you an honest answer. So I'll start off easy.
Let me get ready for these.
Yeah. So, favourite food?
Chinese.
Favourite TV series?
Oh, mate. Shit. Criminal Minds.
Oh!
Criminal Minds.
Favourite TV programme, period?
Yeah, ever.
Cool. Favourite film?
Oh, dude. Saw
1?
Saw 3.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Saw 3.
Okay. Yeah.
Or
All
4. Saw 3 or 4. I'm okay with either.
Yeah, I like the Hostel films.
Oh, dude. The first and the second one are great.
Big. Favourite type of music?
Ooh. Rock music. Rock music or reggae.
Yeah, nice. Chilled, and then...
Probably reggae more than rock, but, you know, if I had to alternate, I got rock.
Yeah. Oh, okay, cool. That's cool. Favourite car?
Honda.
When you drive. Ah, cool. And last question: do you believe in extraterrestrials?
Half and half.
You're 50-50, yeah?
Yeah, I'm half and half. Like, there are some things that I don't believe that can be easily explained as something else, but there's some things that even I've seen myself that are just, even if I said it in this interview, like people won't believe it.
Do it. I want to hear it.
All right.
What have you seen?
You know
I'm undercover ET. I need to know.
The bin. You know back in the day you had the silver bins instead of these black and green bins. You had the round
Silver tins?
Yeah, with the lids on.
Yeah.
Now, I saw something like that, and I have to get the picture for you. I saw something like that in the sky.
Hang on. You got a picture?
Somewhere, yeah. I have a picture.
What do you mean you got a picture? What, of a UFO?
Like, it looked like... It just looked... You know the hat on Pizza Hut?
Yeah.
It was like that in the sky, and it wasn't a cloud.
Like Raiders.
I'm telling you, it was like black. It wasn't grey.
Yeah.
It wasn't white.
It wasn't.
Black. You could tell it wasn't a cloud. It just looked. It was just that. Just like.
Could it potentially have been a triangular shape?
No, it was shaped like that hat from Pizza Hut, man. Like, seriously. Like, I don't know if I were tripping or whatever, but like seriously, it was when I lived up north.
Okay. So
like
you lived up north.
I lived in like a 3-story house. I owned a 3-story house, right? And my bedroom was on the second floor. So like out of my bedroom window, you had a clear view over Huddersfield, right? And I remember I was just there. I was just smoking out of my window, and next thing I just zoned in at this one thing in the sky. There's this black hat-looking thing in the sky, and I'm like, what? And I just get my camera out and I'm like this, and I kept zooming into it and zooming out, and it was just like black, and then you zoom in, it's a bit sparkly, and it's back out, and it's like, what? Like, that's gotta be, like, I bet that's a cloud or something, do you know what I mean? And it was there for like an hour, easy an hour, but I'll get the photo when I can. I think I shared it on my Facebook, my old Facebook account.
When did you just look back one time it was gone?
I think because I was that baked, I think.
You went and it did you not see it move off then?
No, like I was there and I was just like, when I'd noticed it, I was there smoking for ages, and I just kept staring at it, but I didn't want to be like, I didn't want to like convince myself that it was like some kind of UFO or something. Do you know what I mean?
It just was speculative of the whole thing. And
and I got a picture of it on my phone, and I started showing me mates. I'm like, yo, check this UFO out. And I showed them, they went, cough, it's a cloud. It's a cloud that. I'm like, nah, it's not, mate. I said, listen, I saw it last night. I said, look, it's just black. It's just black and like with little white bits, like, it's just like, do you know what I mean? And they went, go off, get off yourself. I'm like, I saw it.
Oh, you're going to have to send me the photo.
Yeah,
you have to dig it out.
It's on, I don't know if it's on the Facebook account I've got there, but I definitely shared it on Facebook. Like, and I even, like, you know when you get to say something on the picture?
Yeah.
I said, anyone please tell me, like, is this like UFO or what? And everyone were like, people commenting saying, nah, that's a cloud, mate, it looks like a cloud. I'm like, yeah, but look how dark it is, like, it's not a cloud. Like, look how solid it is as well. It's not even moving. Clouds move, and they're like, dude.
They move over time, and they wouldn't just sit there for that long, right? Yeah.
I had people going, you need to lay off the wacky backy.
Of course you did.
It's not the wacky backy, I'm telling you. But
it's all right. The thing is, if you weren't smoking out that window, you'd never have seen it.
That's what I'm saying. Because
Catch-22.
Where it was like there was no tree. Like, see out here.
I mean, we all do things when we're younger, man. But when you see what you see, a man sees what a man sees.
I saw it, but no one will believe me. I've even got a picture somewhere of it, and I'm telling you, I've got proof. But no one believes it.
Unbelievable, folks. Unbelievable.
I think if people don't see it themselves, you know, it's easy to
hard,
blame it on something else. You know what I mean?
It's hard, isn't it? And this is why why I try and do the channel, because I want to try and show people these are real, and you can show real footage and you'll still get people, like you say, that would go, it's just a seagull that can just really smart. or whatever it is they want to throw out there. But the reality is,
I mean, I've had things like, you know, like there'll be like a pen on the table or a lighter on the table, and it'll be like literally right in the middle of the desk, and I'll be sat over there where my TV is, and I'll be doing whatever, and next thing I know, I'll get up, I'll come across, and I'll get to here or somewhere, and like, the lighter will just fall on the floor, or do you know what I mean? My bottle of water will just fall over, and I'm thinking I never touched it.
Well, hang on.
Like there's like weird shit like that happens, and I'm thinking, and I was told that somebody about 6 years ago in this flat passed away, and I was like,
hang on a minute, we are going into a whole new thing here.
Yeah.
So you saying that you've got a spirit here in this flat as well? Because I've stayed here a few times.
oh,
You ain't said
mate.
nothing about that.
Oh, sorry, dude.
Boys, we're going to do this gaming thing in 2 weeks' time, lads. If you're watching, it's haunted. Okay, it's haunted.
I think it was natural causes, but somebody passed away here 6 years ago in this flat.
Oh, you just reminded me, and I'm glad we haven't wrapped this up yet. Tell me about the light bulb incident with you. What happened and why it happened?
Right. So I had the you know, I remember I told you that I had some rods and nuts and bolts all the way down my spine to keep get my spine structured back up again.
Yeah.
So in the November that same year that it all happened, I'd gone, because of that massive bad infection, I'd gone back to hospital. Had all the rods and the nuts and bolts taken out, stitched up and all that kind of thing. And then, like I say, I'd gone home in the February, I think. And then I was stood, the first time it happened, I was stood at the toilet having a pee. And it was one of the normal, you know, the screw lights, screw-in ones.
Yeah.
It was one of those ones, and I stood there having a pee, and there's glass all over me. The bulb just popped. It didn't come out. The bulb just popped, bang, and obviously I've been
Traumatized.
petrified.
Yeah.
I've shot down the stairs. Like I've even missed the bottom 3 steps and tripped into the hallway at the bottom near the front door, and Mum and Dad have come rushing into the hallway. What the bloody hell's going on? Like, what's going on? I'm like, the light. And they've gone up, and there's literally glass all over the floor. And like, what happened? I'm like, I was just having a wee, and it just exploded. Like, I couldn't explain it. I was panicking, I was scared, and trying to explain why this light bulb had just
And how
exploded.
long ago after this? How long ago did this happen after your accident? Like,
So
I guess you were released and then.
I went back in hospital November '09 because of the infection, and they needed to take the metalwork out. They took the metalwork out in the November. I got home in just the early February, and this was like a couple of weeks after I got home in the February.
Yeah.
The first time it happened was about a couple of weeks after we got home in the February, and that was at the toilet, and it was about 2 or 3 days later that it happened in the kitchen. I was stood at the kitchen side, and about, say, maybe 2 or 3 feet behind me on the roof was those, you know, the long strobe lights with the casing on them.
Yeah.
So this didn't have the casing on it. The one in my mum and dad's kitchen didn't have the casing on it. It was just the strobe light. And I'm stood there making a coffee, and I start stirring the coffees, and the same thing, just blew clean out, just smashed all over the floor behind me, and the same thing happened again. But this time the back door was open, so I sort of jolted back and shot out of the back door and just lied on the grass. I could barely breathe, man. It was.
Because of
I was
noise.
petrified because it was the noise, it was the pop, and it was after the fact. It was like, what is going on? Like, I've seen so many freaky stuff in hospital. I've had so many stupid, like, scary sort of, you know, disillusions, whatever you call them, because of the morphine and stuff. Like, a lot. I'd seen and gone through a lot of stuff in like the rest of that year alone. So to go back and like for that to happen twice, do you know what I mean? It was
must have been terrifying for you.
Petrified the pants off me, man.
This is the knock-on effect of what happens when accidents happen, which is why it annoys people so much when people deliberately hurt people. You know, when you see these acid attacks and things like that, and it changes people's lives. So when accidents happen, you've got to feel for the person, and mate, you're a warrior. You're a true warrior and resilient as well. So resilient. Oh, mate, I'd have been gone at the bus. I'm about half your size, okay? The bus would have hit me and I'd have just carried on going, okay?
I mean, there's no to say that if that bus had hit me full on wham, that I wouldn't have,
there'd have been a Marcus shape in the bus.
Like Spider-Man when he stops that train going off the track. Yeah. Do you remember?
We all wish we had that power, man, but...
Mate.
Hey, mate, you're still here, so...
After that, dude, I'd be half tempted to try, like... See what I'm really made of. I'm joking. I never do that.
You got the better end of the deal out of the two of you. So
I'm still here, man. I'm still alive. I'm able to tell the story. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And to be quite honest, other than friends and closer friends up north and family members that already knew what had happened, this is the first time really that I've been able to tell anything about it. Do you know what I mean? Like it's one of those where I've just sat and kept it to myself. I mean, I do songwriting a lot, so I write a lot of this down, like, like the really in-depth feelings of when I was going in and out of consciousness and some of the things that I think I felt or that I did feel, like, do you know what I mean? I write a lot of this down, and I talk a lot more now as well, Like,
good, so your confidence has gone up. Everything's going up, everything's going in the right direction. And mate, you don't, like, looking at you, obviously I know that you can pull up your shirt and it's absolutely crazy what you've gone through, and it shows, but when you see Marcus as he is now, the scars are hidden. Like, this guy doesn't even look like he's been in an explosion. Nope. You wouldn't even know. That's why we should always treat everyone with respect, because you just never know really what they've gone through and stuff. So definitely, Mark, thank you so much for doing this interview.
Not a problem, man.
You're a
Not
legend.
a problem, buddy. It's been a pleasure, man. Just
quickly as well, rather than putting these up and downloading them, I'm just going to quickly show the camera. So we got some photos here, and yeah, I mean, this is just of what happened to him, and we'll keep going. I'll just show you a few more. If you want to stop and read everything, folks, just stop and read it on the camera. I appreciate it's quite tough, but yeah, it looks like the firm got fined quite a hefty amount, and I hope the family, the wife of the guy that passed, got some help. And it's tragic accident, and I won't show you the back of this one, as it's got his face on there, and just in case, I just want to respect his privacy. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things, folks, that if these things do not happen, we do not learn about the afterlife, or potential afterlife, and that's what we need to do. I'm really bad at lining this up with the camera. So yeah, folks, it's absolutely amazing story. I'd like you guys to get in contact on the channel. Please like and subscribe if you like what you see, and if you've got anything you want to post over to me, send over to me, please do get in contact with me. undercoveretuk@gmail.com. Send an email, get in contact, let me know what you've got to tell. If you want to share it, and we can talk about putting it on the channel. Hope you enjoyed this session. Marcus, again, thank you so much.
Not a problem.
And yeah, it's been awesome, man. It's been awesome.
Yeah, hey, it's been a blast, man. It's been a blast, buddy.
Fab. Take care, all. I will catch you on the next one. We've got some more UFO stuff coming up, and then we've got another interview coming up, I think, towards the end of this month as well. So enjoy it. Take care of yourselves, folks, and I'll catch you on the next one.